Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Good morning to all. I am Shravan Kumar from the International Institute of Vedic Sciences, Vaidhika. It gives me great pleasure and joy to welcome all the enthusiasts of Vedic sciences and Sanatana Dharma who have now joined us live on the Vaidhika YouTube channel. Let us start this session with a prayer. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheswaraha, Guru Sakshat, Para Brahma, Tasmai Sri, Gurave Namaha. Shuklam Baradaram Vishnum, Sesivarnam Chaturbhujam, Prasannavadanam Dhyayet, Sarva Vignopasantaye. Today, we have with us Sri Hemanth Kumar G, the speaker of the day. We cordially invite him today to give a talk on the introduction to Vaidhika Bauta Shaastra and unexplored Vedic physics. This is the 25th talk in the Dr. Vedavyasa Memorial Online Lecture Series being conducted by the International Institute of Vedic Sciences, Vaidhika, and promoted by the Vedavyasa Bharati Trust, USCEFI, and Yoga Brotherhood of America with the blessings of our Pujya Guruji, Dr. Vedavyasa. Now, I take this opportunity to introduce our speaker of the day, Sri Hemanth Kumar G. Sri Hemanth Kumar G is currently associated with Intel India as a workload development engineer for AI and computer vision products. He has around 13 years of experience in industry and academia. He pursued his Bachelor of Engineering in Computer Science and Engineering from Adi Chunchanagiri Institute of Technology, Chikkamagaluru, and Master of Technology in Information Technology from National Institute of Technology, Karnataka, Surathkal. He has taught more than 1,500 engineering students during his tenure of Assistant Professorship in NMAMIT, Nitte. Sri Hemanth has completed his Samhita studies of Rig Veda and Samaveda and participates in Mahayagas to understand its deeper connections with nature. Under the guidance of Brahma Rishi K.S. Nityanandaru, a Purvotara Meemaansa, Sri Hemanth is studying Vaidhika Bauta Shastra, Vaidhika Ganita, Vedokta Ayurveda, Vaidhika Nyaya Shastra, Vaidhika Manas Shastra, Vedokta Jyotisha, Yajna Yaga Sutras, Tantra Shastras from his guru in Veda Vijnana Mandira in Chikkamagaluru, Karnataka. Hemanth is famous for his blog vedavijnana.blogspot.in, where he has shared around 450 posts including articles, audios, videos in Kannada, English and Hindi. Sri Hemanth will now take us through the unexplored Vedic physics in his talk. Now, I invite Sri Hemanth Kumar to start his talk.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Namaskar to all. So, this will be a kind of casual talk and providing my experiences in learning the Vedic physics, which is noted as Vaidhika Bauta Shastra in its ancient manuscripts, the palm leaf manuscripts. 4 different manuscripts are available, or the palm leaves are available in my Guruji's library. So this Vaidhika Bauta Shastra is a compilation of around 40 different Shastras. It's not a single physics kind of subject what we see in the modern day, but it is a combination of 40 subjects. So it involves Bhauta Shastra, which is astronomy, Ayurveda, Rasayana Shastra, the chemistry, the medical science, and the Ganita, Vaidhika Ganita, the mathematics, ancient Indian mathematics, like this. So the 40 Shastras are originated according to the 40 Kalas, Agni Kala, Saura Kala, and Amrita Kalas. So relating to that, the interaction starting from the earth till the end of the galaxy, maybe. So we don't say it as galaxy, but it's a Bhu Prakriti till the Khagola. So it explains that's what the letter Bha signifies from the Bhu Prakriti. Bhauta, the word Bhauta itself is a Brahmi language word. Bha aurasaihi tadaya tanahamiti Bhautaha. So starting from the Bhu Prakriti, and it goes till the Kha, Akasha. And the sound waves and the light waves and all the other materials or the invisible particles, visible and invisible particles which are coming from the Khagola, Aurasaha. You say that the sun is called as Aurasaputra in Indian context. So that means it's a kind of inheritance happening from Khagola to the Bhugola. Tad ayatana hamiti. It provides an ayatana. That means it provides a boundary. It's a well-defined boundary. And that boundary is nothing but the law of nature. So the very good framework having the concrete information about the Khagola and Bhugola, and also the Manava Deha, which is human body. As an example, it also explains all the 84 lakh species, information about interaction and information about all the 84 lakh species. But we go on concentrating on human because we want to understand ourselves better and to explore all the other subjects like the 40 Upashastras from the perspective of trying to understand what is Ananda. Maybe it's a bliss. What is the ultimate bliss which can be explored by each Shastra? You understand the chemistry or the Rasayana Shastra. So how you can make your life as well as the life of the people, people connecting to the society and society making the country and the whole world and the whole universe interconnected and better. So that's from the chemistry perspective. Similarly, you approach this by 40 different ways, different 40 Shastras. So everywhere it's an attempt to understand what is Ananda or Sukha or Ananda. So that's the intention. So nowadays we see that people are correlating the modern science or the modern physics with the ancient literature and Vedas. So that correlation is different from the natural existence and the reality. So already our rishis, the sages, who are Vedarshis, they have written their prabandhas. Prabandha means the essays. If you have a mantra, for example, Agnimi ile purohitam yajnasya deva mrityajam hodaram ratnadhatamam. So first mantra of Veda, it's not Agnimi ile. So it is given with the swaras. The interpretation with the swaras, because it's not in the language what we see, it's called as Sanskrit, but it is in an ancient language called as Brahmi. When we propose this, maybe some people are not happy with that because they don't know the Brahmi language, but it is evident from the ancient manuscripts as well as their essays and the particular way in which the Brahmi language is also taught in the Gurukulas. By observing all those things, and also the ancient unpublished epics. So it is evident that Vedas are not in Sanskrit, but in a language called as Brahmi. So this Vaidhika Bauta Shastra is proposed. It's a well experimented Shastra. It doesn't claim anything without proof. So the rishis related to, for example, a Loha Shastra, metallurgy related things. The rishis used to do the experiment and it's a final outcome or the research publication will be put into the collection called as Bauta Shastra. So then it will be compiled by those committee of rishis and it will become a reference. So whatever is proposed in this Vaidhika Bauta Shastra, they can be considered as ultimate truth. So we have a ready reckoner with us. But what we are doing nowadays is trying to correlate from the modern science to the ancient science. That's not required actually. You already have the concrete knowledge in ancient scripture itself. So what we have to do is just try to understand that and try to apply that to the modern world for our betterment of our life and also betterment of the society and the country. So with this preamble, I will start my experiences in learning the Vaidhika Bhauta Shastra. It's a very vast subject. We were taught, initially the plan was 20 years of lessons by my Guruji. But we were taught around 6 years. Every time when he teaches around 1 hour, we will teach, and we should note down them and write it as a separate notes and submit it to him. He will verify, and then we will get the, like, if there are some errors, make us understand, ask the questions after every chapter and get the answers to that. So this is this was the procedure for us for around 6 years. So again, 14 more years to go. But before that, we have to digest all the lessons which have been done till 6 years, which is enormous. It exceeds all the concepts what we have in the chemistry, physics, astronomy, astrology, Ayurveda. So all this, and also Karma Siddhanta. So all this, it gives us foundation, 4 foundations. So these 4 foundations are provided in the in first 6 years of his teaching. So afterwards, he says, like, you have to make a mage table. So on the 4 pillars. So then you stand on top of that table to see the sun, because we say that sun is the ultimate source of knowledge. So so it has the detail, this Vaidhika Bhauta Shastra, it has the detailed theories which make you to understand what do you mean by the Prakriti and Chaitanya. So that is the nature and the God. So when we study this, we will understand a lot of modern scientific theories are, it's not properly organized, or it's not, so many times it may not be true, but it would have been accepted due to certain criteria being satisfied. But that somehow it is also working, but it may not be working for all the cases. So that's why, even though it is working for some countable number of cases, we should not reject it. So whatever the knowledge and the applications are there, we have to take them, and we have to use the ancient theories for the individual growth. So that's the final intention, is social welfare. The eligibility to learn these kind of shastras is the person who is involved with the society and always thinks about the social welfare. He is eligible to, he or she is eligible to learn the Vaidhika Bhauta Shastra. So you would think that, like, why this is not there in this available in the books, or it's not available in the mainstream. I think everybody of us know in India that we have been ruled by foreign invaders for several years, during which the sages, the rishis, have protected this knowledge. So prior to that, we had the Gurukulas in which these things were common. And ours is like a Shrauta Parampara. My Guru, when he is teaching this Vaidhika Bhauta Shastra, he doesn't use any books. Everything he has registered, the whole lessons, the stream of knowledge is there in his mind, and he explains that directly. So, and we take down the notes. So that's how the Shrauta Parampara, everything is there in the mind. But when I asked for the reference, for the proof, he has said that he possesses 4 different manuscripts related to this. All the sutras he has understood and experimented, many of them, and whichever he finds it as proper, only those things he is teaching. So there may be some concepts which he hasn't validated, he doesn't tell about them, because we have to understand. Vedas tells several things, we have to understand them, then only we have to use. Without understanding it properly, we should not try to do an experiment which may cause harm to the society. That's why these kind of experiments are prohibited in India. The experiments which may cause harm to the society or the nature. So, for example, bringing the rains, flooding an area. So these kind of experiments are also there, but they are prohibited. And it has to be carried out outside India, maybe in a barren land or in desert. Those kind of places has to be chosen and experiments have to be done. Even the sages have done the same thing. So which is evident in several other countries. Prananto Vishwamaryam, rishis went from here and did the experiment in those areas for thousands and thousands of years. And with them, the civilization also took a growth, and they finished their research and they moved away. Maybe they came back to India or they went to their own world. So this Vedic physics thesis is entitled as a Brahma Vidya Brahma Rahasya Kanda. So it's an unpublished manuscript in Pamlis, basically written in Brahmi language and also in Brahmi script. The script, what you see now, which is Ashokan Brahmi, is not an original Brahmi. It's derived from the ancient Tibetan. Tibetan is Tibet. Ancient Tibetan script, it is derived. But original Brahmi is entirely different. Original Brahmi language and Brahmi script. The whole Rig Veda, around 10,000, more than 10,500 mantras of Rig Veda is written only in 6 palm leaves. That much highly compressed language and the script is the Brahmi. So, according to my Guru saying, around 12 people are there in world now who can read and write this ancient script, Brahmi script, as well as they can understand the Brahmi language. So it is protected in the Guru Shishya Parampara. And in the first time, we were taught in the Kannada language, which is having the perfect correlation with the Brahmi language. So the Brahma Vidya, start with this Bhauta Shaastra starts with understanding of Brahma and Brahma, which is equivalent to the Prakriti. So it's the various topics or the numerous topics in the nature, how the Brahma behaves or it interacts in the various topics of the nature. So that's identifying that is the secret of the nature. So we don't know that, that's why we call it a secret. But once you come to know about that, it will become evident. So it will become truth, ultimate truth. So it starts with the root element for the creation, try to understand that. So how the root element or the Chetana, how the cold and hot interactions. So when you have the Chetana, so a body will be, it will have the temperature. And when you don't have the different interaction of the Chetana, so it will decrease, the cold interaction will be more. So that means it's called a Shakha and Shaitya in terms of Vaidhika Bhauta Shastra. So root element is the Anu, which is atom, which may be equated to atom. Again, there are a lot of confusions in there. I don't want to enter that area now. But we term it as Anu, and in the epics also it is termed as Anu. Of that particular Mula Chaitanya, it has the property of continually losing its temperature. So when it loses its temperature, it will Vighadana will happen. That means maybe the bonds are broken there. For survival and the existence, that Chetana or Anu, so it transformed into different living beings. So Jiva Prabheda. So in that, the Bhauta Shastra went and tried to understand how the life is created, Jivotpatti Prakarana, how the nature is withholding this particular Shakha, the temperature, and how much effective is the light and Kirana interaction. Everything in this world happens due to the interaction of two, which are called as Yoga and Maya, or Shabda Taranga and Kirana Taranga. So it explains these Shabda Taranga and Kirana Taranga in terms of Yoga and Maya. So nothing can escape from the Yoga and Maya or the Shabda Taranga and Kirana Taranga. So since it has been taught in Kannada, by taking the Vedic verses and explaining that in the Kannada. So as I told before, the social responsibility and doing only good to the society is the first eligibility. then at least they should be more than 12 years of age. Children may not be able to understand. They should go through some basic lessons of Vedas, Vedanta, Bhagavad Gita, and all those things, and try to appreciate and cultivate an interest. That is, initially it will be in terms of kutuhala. Kutuhala is sahasramukhayi. So everything the child sees and tries to understand, it will be very enthusiastic to see and try to understand. Later it becomes asakti. Some amount of interest it will develop. When the asakti becomes shraddha, shraddhavan labate jnanam. So they will be able to understand and get the knowledge. And the sattvic lifestyle is very important for this. Rather than going through the adulterated texts, so it is better we focus more on the Vedas and the Vaidhika Bauta Shaastra, which is directly written by the Vedarshis, who are Veda Drashtaras. So first, when I recall my lessons during some 8 to 10 years ago, when my Guruji started teaching this Vaidhika Bauta Shastra, he asked, what is Bauta Shastra? At that time, I was in the college, and with me, there were so many other students also in this class, and the class started with a question. So we were very science savvy people. So we started answering so many things. What is Bauta Shastra? But finally, everybody's answer was taken, and he gave the original answer, which was there in the book. So Bauta Shastra is the one which could be perceived or understood from the Panchendriyas. So it will have the Jaivika, Prakritika, Swabhavajanya materials. So to make you understand them, the Bauta Shastra originated. And the word Bauta, I have already explained that. So, and it is included in such a way that it is very natural, it's very everlasting, and it is developmental, and also it has a protective formulas. So now we have come to a position where we are in the state where the nature is reversed to us due to this COVID situation. But if the nature have been understood properly, the science and technology would have taken a care and have done some applied the protective formulas rather than making the Prakriti Tataki. So the second or third chapter of Bauta Shastra talks about the 64 formulas, which is the whole Indian philosophy is on the basis of these 64 sutras. So those 64 sutras, the formulas, they are given the numbers. They have their own interaction with the numbers, and there is a mathematics behind that. And from that, the Kala Koshtaka, which is the ultimate source of mathematics, which the Srinivas and Ramanujan, Bhaskaracharya, all these people have tried to understand that and tried to utilize some samikaranas or formulas from those from that Kala Koshtaka. 84 Veda Ganita Samikaranas are there in that. Understanding one is also not easy. Bhaskaracharya attempted and he was successful. Around 3 to 4 Samikaranas is solved. Later, Srinivas Ramanujan has taken one from the Bhaskaracharya and tried to solve that one. So now the mathematics, what we see is having the roots from the Srinivas Ramanujan, at least who tried to decode or try to decipher one sutra from Veda Ganita Samikarana. So that's the basis of Anandadi 64 sutras. It's not easy to cover all those things, but I do remember the formula. Just I will chant that. Ananda Kanda Manda Mandara Kunda Kandara Ananta Kutila Latava Vatavataki Tatataka Tataki Tantraki Tantranaha Tantrika Tantra Tantrodhara Mantra Mantrodhara Deva Deva Samshaka Tatwamsha Upamsha Prakriti Parikara Pavana Shakta Shakteya Shakta Shadhya Shashaka Shashidara Dhara Udara Kevala Kaivalya Kankshina Guru Rupa Vartika Kanta Dyumani Rasodhara Rasavahaka Shabdavahaka Chaitanyavahaka Chaitanya Veda Rasaveda Dyubeda Mitra Veda Tantra Veda Shashanka Shashi Arghya Arkavali Bhushanavali Arkendu Dyuti Sumati. So these are the 64 sutras, which is proposed in the maybe second or third chapter. Start from Ananda and goes till Sumati, providing the good intellect, starting with the Ananda Sutra. Ananda, identifying the Ananda or the bliss in every part of the universe, every minute particle, and how it interacts and how it goes till the final bliss, how the nature is operating. So how the changes happen in the nature. So what is the secret of the nature? All these things are present in the 64 formulas. Indian philosophy was developed, all the Darshana Shastras. We see Shad Darshanas now, they're nothing. We had 18,000 Darshana Shastras. These 6 are only 6 among 18,000. So you see how Darshana Shastras, it throws a light on that particular subject, which is derived from the Vedas. So a Darshanika would have experienced that light, seen that light, and he has explained this is how it looks like. And the people follow that and try to see the same light. But the original source of all these 18,000 Darshana Shastras are Vedas. So we have to concentrate more on Vedas to get the knowledge of all these 18,000 Darshana Shastras are present in this. So the tools for understanding this are our sensory organs. Nothing else. No computers, no cell phones, no digital devices. Our brain and our sensory organs are the tools to understand this. So we have to make our kids understand this by utilizing their natural senses. So the second question which was posed to us was, how many divisions or vibhaga are there in the Vaidhika Bauta Shastra? So we also tried our level best to identify the divisions from the modern science perspective. But finally, Swamiji gave the answer. That means it is divided into 5 parts, as you can see on the slide. It's Agochara. So it's Agochara, Druggochara, Parinamagochara, Pravartana Gochara, and Gunagochara. So these are the these are the 5 divisions of Vaidhika Bauta Shastra. Agochara is, quickly you can try to understand it as an invisible or automatically going processes without any obstructions. So Druggochara is visible, not only visible, but interchangeable. So the ongoing processes that are natural and visible. It can be modified into different forms. And the Parinama Gochara is Parinama. It's nothing but here. What happens is you may not be able to identify the underlying process. So that's what the Parinama Gochara is. And the Pravartana Gochara is the material, object, or things. They cannot be identified, but you can identify the process. That's how the Pravartana works. And the Guna Gochara. So here, the process and the effect can be understood by chemical analysis. So when you see the Guna Gochara, every object or the material is divided into 108 types, which the Ashtottara Shatanamavali came in this particular concept to trying to understand what is the guna, what is the character or characteristic of that. So it can be identified among 108 tests. So we have to do the test for any material or chemical analysis we perform. 4 divisions are there for this. One is Rasainika, Vishleshaka, Pravartaka, and Kantaka. Rasainika is Rasainika Vishleshana, we call it as 6 into 6, 36 types are there. So for example, in the Rasainika, we start with the 6 tastes, which is nothing but Rechaka, Kichaka, Sinchaka, Sravaka, and Pidaka, Unmadaka. So it's nothing but the 6 tastes what we have in our literatures. So each taste, for example, sweet has 6 divisions, and sour it has 6 divisions, like that. 6 into 6, 36. So this is the first test for the Rasainika Vishleshana. The second division is the Vishleshaka, which is of 7 types. So Varna Vishleshaka, Rupa Vishleshaka, Bheda Vishleshaka, Bhasa Vishleshaka, Yatyaya Vishleshaka, Prachanna Vishleshaka, Prakshipta Vishleshaka. For example, Varna Vishleshaka, it starts with the three basic Varna Tantus. Or Varna Tantu is, maybe it is termed as kind of chromosome, it can be called as, or three basic elements which helps you to helps you in your vision. So these are the three Mula Varna Tantu, we call them as, from which you can prepare thousands and thousands of colors. And how this Mula Varna Tantu Sanyojana happens in the atomic level. So wherever there is a space, so the atom interaction, it will try to extract those kiranas, and it will do the pratipalana, reflection of the color, parinama ruti varna, we call it as. So the color, it's a parinama gocharaman. So that's one thing among the Vishleshaka which I am saying here. Prakshipta, it has a Visha, Shleshma and Bharika, where if there is some foreign material entering into the atomic structure, what happens there. So all those things, Bharika is also there. All those things are analyzed in the Vishleshaka part. And with the Pravartaka, you have 27 plus 1, totally 28 divisions. So it is like 27 plus 1 is Chetana, because it is Antargata in between all these 27. So you can't measure the Chetana. So you can't even try to understand that easily. So, but you can try to understand the interaction of Chetana with these materials. So, for example, if something is becoming increasing in nature, you try to decrease that. So this is a kind of laboratory experiment. So Vriddhi Kshina. So if it is a Pakva, you make it Apakva. Achadana Vichedana, Kala Akala, Dveshi Snehi, Samana Asamana, Alambana Gamana, Stirikarana Chalana Samvedi, Bhava Abhava, Swabhava Nirbhava, Nrit, Jiva, Shabda Nishabda, and last one is Chetana. So 13 pair, that's 26, plus 1, 27. So this is the third division, and the fourth one is the Kantaka, which is 6 into 4, 24 types of Kantaka is there. It's nothing but the Akarshana, Vikarshana, Akarshana, Vidveshana, Mohana, Stambhana, Uchchatana, and Marana. So these are nothing, these are not some tantric prayogas, but these are the Akarshana is Sneha, Bandhu, Swabhava, Anivarya, 4 types of Akarshanas. So it's saying about how the Anu does this Sneha, Bandhu, Swabhava, and Anivarya. So one for example, one material, it may be naturally sweet, or else it may have accumulated some amshas through which it can attract the sweetness. It is like a snehaka. It may come friendly. So due to these reasons, the objects or the materials get formed, or the or a particular material or vastu is prepared. So these are the kantakas. Each kantaka is Akarshana, the 6, as they have their 4 interactions with these 24 types, which are 24 types. So in total, it is going to contribute 109 minus 1, total 108. So because one amsha is Chetana here, which is not easy to identify, that's why 108 types. So that's how the Gunagochara Vishleshana happens. So this, which is very important, from all the chemistry originated from this concept. So then during the explanation, it was told about the Saptadhatus, the 7 basic materials, or the Dhatu, which has the Deha Dharana Shakti. So when 7 Dhatu Sangatana happens, you will get a Kaya. Kaya means the body. There are 5 Dhatu combinations also, which are not kind of organisms, what the grown-up organisms like human or any other animals. but there are some other microorganisms which may not have all these 7 dhatus, but less number of dhatus. So it explains the basic concept about the dhatus, how the smula dhatus are interacting. These are the jiva dhatus are interacting with the panchabhutas as well as the tridoshas, kapha, pitta, and vata. So evolution, it encompasses a wide range of phenomena, from the emergence of major lineages to mass extinctions, to the evolution of antibiotic resistance bacteria in hospitals today. However, with the field of evolutionary biology, the origin of life is of special interest because it addresses the fundamental question of where we and all the other living beings or the living things came from. So many lines of evidence help illuminate the origin of life. Ancient fossils, radiometric dating, the phylogenetics and chemistry of the modern organisms, and even the experiments. However, since new evidence is constantly being discovered, hypotheses about how life originated may change or be modified. It's important to keep in mind that changes to these hypotheses are a normal part of the process of science, and that they do not represent a change in the basis of evolutionary theory. So when this life originated, the modern says the evidence which it says is like it suggests that the life first evolved around 3.5 billion years ago, but that's not that much truth. It goes beyond that because there is no evidence for the science. It doesn't believe that. So this evidence takes the form of microfossils. Fossils too small to be seen without the aid of a microscope, maybe. So ancient rock structures in South Africa and Australia called stromatolites, which are produced by microbes, mainly by the photosynthesizing bacteria that form thin microbial films which trap the mud. Over the time, layers of these mud or microbe mats can build up into a layered rock structure. So that's the stromatolite. So they are still produced by the microbes today. These modern stromatolites are remarkably similar to the ancient stromatolites, which provide the evidence of some of the earliest life on the earth. So the modern and ancient stromatolites have the similar shapes, and when seen in cross-section, both show the same fine layering produced by thin bacterial sheets. Microfossils of ancient bacteria, cyanobacteria, can sometimes be identified within these layers. So where did the life originate? Modern science says that hydrothermal vent at the bottom of the ocean. Scientists are exploring several possible locations for the origin of life, including the pools and hot springs. However, recently some scientists have narrowed in on the hypothesis that the life originated near a deep sea hydrothermal vent. The chemicals found in these vents and the energy they provide could have fueled many of the chemical reactions necessary for the evolution of life. Furthermore, using the DNA sequence of the modern organisms, biologists have tentatively traced the most recent common ancestor of all life to an aquatic microorganism. So it finally is going to the Matsyavatara. Matsya is not the fish. Mat asya saha in the Brahmin. So mat is the component there, or the prakritika janya amsha, which is extracted or derived from the water in the Panchabhautika Sangatana. So in that, the core component are the chalana, which is happening in the mat. So that's the matsya, which is identified in the Vedas. So it's a likely a candidate for the hydrothermal vent is the vent inhabitant, although several lines of evidence are consistent with the hypothesis that the life began near deep sea vents. It is far from certain. The investigation continues and may eventually point towards a different site for the origin of life. But our ancient scriptures are confident about how the life has originated. Even some Darshana Shastras also explain about that. Vedas explain them in very deep, and Vaidhika Bhauta Shastra goes to the accurate way of defining how the life originated. So it starts with the Veda 10.109.1, and also it's there in Atharvaveda, Devadan Prathama Brahma Kilvishe Aku Aras Salilo Madarishwa. So around 3.5 billion years ago, so that's the evidence is microfossils and the stromatolites. That's what the modern evidence says. So this Akupar Salila, which can be equated to the predominance of and Marut or microbes. So in also Ayurveda, it explains about like what happened, how these life originated. So that's a motivating thing about the life, how the life has originated. So what is the Mula Dhatu for this? So Mula Dhatu for life, origin of life, or Jiva Srushti is Vega. Vega is speed. So that speed is identified by certain mantras in Veda. How for example, we say that electron and proton are rotating in particular speed. So what makes them rotate? Okay, so that is explained in Vedas. So that's the Vamadeva concept of Veda. So the whole arrangement of the Indian physics is bounded by these 5 rules. So the 5 rules which I explained before: Agochara, Dirgochara, Parinama Gochara, Pravartana Gochara, and Guna Gochara. So which cannot be experienced by these 5, they are not bound to physics. So that's why it is the ultimate truth. So if we are not able to identify that, it may be our ignorance, but we can't just ignore that, saying that it's not true. Okay. So again, there will be a lot of aggressive behaviors when we are not able to understand that, and because it contradicts the mainstream of knowledge. But if you are open-minded and try to see the concept which other person is explaining, try to first listen to them and then start, because Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana are the way in the Indian Gurukula system. First try to listen whatever the other person is saying, then try to do the manana of that, try to revise and repeat it. Then whatever the good things are there in that, only take them and store in your mind, Nididhyasana. And it has to come out in a proper timing. When there is a tough situation like Corona, so how you are going to solve that? How you are going to balance that? So that's where your intelligence come into picture. It's not something intelligence quotient, IQ, or some other modern sheets which are saying this is IQ or this is emotional quotient or spiritual quotient. That's not the thing. How you are going to solve a problem, real problem, and how you are going to interact and balance your life. So that's the reality. So any concept, you can't reject it very crudely. It's a blind belief. That kind of thing is not proper. So let's go into the deep and see what is the related science behind any practice in India. Surely they will have some correspondence to these 5 rules. So to understand that, one has to study the Bauta Shaastra in deep. So then only they will be able to identify what that particular practice is related to. So root element, in the first chapter itself, it starts talking about the root elements or the core elements in our periodic table, which are very less in number as compared to what the Bauta Shastra says. 187 dhatus it has identified, Mula dhatus, among which 164 are visible dhatus and 23 are invisible, Gochara and Agochara dhatus. So it can be equated to maybe modern science like total atomic design and the division number for that. And root elements can be identified by their anu sanyojana vidhana. And anu we can't equate that to the atoms. So there are 7 different experiments to ascertain the root elements which are specified in the Vaidhika Shastra. So let's move towards providing the next question which was asked to us during the lesson was to give some examples. One example for each of the 5 divisions: Agochara, Dirgochara, and Parinama Gochara, Pravartana Gochara. Again, some time was given to us and we just wandered here and there and try to collect from our basic knowledge. Basic knowledge of science, we try to identify certain things. Maybe something, when I say Durgochara, people may say like nature, species, surrounding environment, materials. So all these things in Durgochara they may claim. So then the temperature, taste, touch, electricity, these kind of things in the maybe Agochara, people may say that invisible. Parinama Gochara, like sufferings, relationships, love, enmity, all these things may be pronounced by us. And Pravartana Gochara is different evolutions according which are occurring in materials and the species, where the matter is not identified, but we can identify the process. And also in Guna Gochara, I went in deep to explain the 108 divisions of Guna Gochara Vibhaga, where one may also quote the elements from the periodic table. It doesn't limit to that. There are a lot of things. So these are some few examples which we kind of mortals can identify. But physics, Vaidhika Bhauta Shaastra has given a proper formula for this. So the first formula, which is called as the Pancha Brahma Sutra, which with respect to the 5 forms of Rudra, it has given this sutra. So that's how the formulas or the sutras are hidden in terms of the Tattvika Sayojana Vidhana. So this is a Pancha Brahma Sutra. So Sadyojata Adi Panchamukha Rudra, what we see, maybe you go to Nepal Pashuktinath, you will be able to see the Panchamukhi Rudra there. Even in a lot of scriptures, it's available. So this is the formula given in the Vaidhika Bhauta Shastra. Sadyojata, Vamadeva, Aghora, Tatpurusha, and Ishana. Sadyojata Rudra corresponds to the Agochara. Vamadeva, Sadyojata is from the whole subject, this whole subject of Agochara in the nature is hidden in the mantra. Om Sadyojatam Prapadyami Sadyojataya Vainamo Namaha Bhave Bhave Nati Bhave Bhavasvamam Bhavodbhavaya Namaha. So all Agochara is available in this Sadyojata. Sadya Jataha. So Vamadeva is the Durgochara part. So the Durgochara, which I explained before, it can be understood by the Vamadeva Rudra mantra. The whole subject is compressed in this particular mantra. Om Vamadevaya Namo Jeshthaya Namah Shreshthaya Namo Rudraya Namah Kalaya Namah Kalavikarnaya Namo Balavikarnaya Namo Balaya Namo Balapramathanaya Namah Sarva Bhuta Damanaya Namo Manonmanaya Namah. Bala Pramata. Bala, the forces, interaction of forces in the nature. Jeshta, how the Jeshtatva happens in the nature, in different particles. It expands this mantra in enormously, and related mantras it takes from the Vedas, and it goes on explaining. Aghora Rudra, which is Parinama Gochara. Om Aghore Ebhyo Taghore Ebhyo Ghor Ghor Tarebhya Sarve Ebhya Sarva Sharve Ebhyo Namaste Astu Rudra Rupebhya is the Parinama Gochara. All the Parinama Gochara can be understood by this mantra. Either you recite this mantra, do the upasana, and get the knowledge of whole Bhauta Shastra by this, or it's not. If it is not possible, to try to take that mantra and understand by using the upasana plus the Veda Brahmi language interpretation, and also the Vaidhika Bhauta Shastra. Tatpurusha Rudra, which gives you the Pravartana Gochara. All the Pravartana Gochara concepts are encoded in the Tatpurusha Rudra mantra. Om Tatpurushaya Vidmahe Mahadevaya Dhimahe Tanno Rudra Prachodayat. Then the Guna Gochara codified in all the 108 divisions which I told. It's in the Ishana Rudra, which is Ishana Sarva Vidhyanam, Ishara Sarva Bhutanam, Brahmadipati Brahmanodipati Brahma, Shivome Astu Sada Shivom. So these are the 5 sutras. The whole Bhauta Shastra is available in these 5 sutras. That's why usually we chant these mantras during the Abhisheka and several other places, because such that they are made very famous, that like people should be able to understand that, and they will be able to interpret and apply that without knowing them. So even without knowing them, they will be able to get the knowledge. So that's the pattern. The subjects of the Upashastras are 40, as I told. These basic 5 formulas multiplied with the 8 divisions of Ashtaprakriti, 8 divisions of nature, you will get 40 subjects. Depending on the Amruta Kala, 16 Amrita Kalas which are interacting with the Soma Tattva, and that Soma Tattva connects to the moon, and 16 Amrita Kalas are being, there is a continuous interaction between the moon and the earth, or the Soma Tattva, wherever the Soma Tattva is present, it will interact with the surrounding, and it's a complex, very complex interaction. Amrita, Amanada, Pusha, Tushti, Pushti, Rati, Driti, Shashini, Chandrika, Kanti, Josna, Shri, Piti, Rangada, Puna, Puna, Amrita, Bhadradaina, Surathkal. So 16 Kalas, and Agni Kalas 10. Dhumrachi, Rushma, Jalini, Jwalini, Vishpulingini, Sushri, Surupa, Kapila, Havya, Kavya, Vahitcha. 10. So Saurakalas 12. So like that, 16, 10 and 12. So you get plus the Atma and the Paramatma, or the Chaitanya and or Yoga or Maya, Shabdataranga, Kiranataranga, like this. So you'll get to totally 40. So these are the 40 Upashastras originating from, for example, Agni Kala, you know, metallurgy, it involves Agni Kala. Making the ornaments, goldsmith, the blacksmith, the pottery making. So all this, so basically the Vidyas are divided into two parts, Agni Vidya and Vritti Vidya. Agni Vidya relates to the knowledge and those streams, Jnana Satra, Upanishad and all those things. And to understanding the Brahma. And the Vritti Vidya is the worldly Vidya, which is also required for the sustenance of the Chetana in the Prakriti. So without these Agni Vidya and Vritti Vidya, it's not easy to understand anything and live the life. So that's why it gives all the 40 Shastras, chemistry, physics, Ayurveda, all those things are the, it's called as the branches of Vaidhika Bhauta Shastra. So history is defined as being the science of cells developing into tissues, the biochemistry rules. So eternal youth is the concept of human physical immortality free of aging. The youth is referred to is usually meant to be in contrast to the depredations of aging, rather than a specific age of the human lifespan. So far, achieving eternal youth remains beyond the capabilities of science. However, much research is currently being conducted in the sciences of genetics, which may allow manipulation of the aging process at some time in the future. So that's where this is a modern perspective, but the Vedic physics perspective, Vedic Bhauta Shastra perspective is Vedic technology, which involves the Tantra Shastra. Atita to the Bhauta Shastra is the Tantra Shastra. If it says that a person naturally becomes old, so that's the sutra or the formula of Bhauta Shastra. But Tantra Shastra says how to reverse that process, and it practically does that and shows. So this Bhauta Shastra is the basic, can consider this as a basic science, and the Tantra Shastra is the applied science or the technology. So which that technology is 1,000-fold or lakh-fold advanced than the present technology. For example, how to prohibit the fruit decay, starting from the seed germinating and becoming the ripen, and finally it becomes the fruit and it will be decayed. So how to stop that? You want to stop that decaying and to preserve that particular fruit for thousands of years for some research. So Bhauta Shastra just says the formula, but Tantra Shastra goes and explains you how we can stop the fruit decay. The basic formula, what it says in Tantra Shastra is how to stop the anu interaction inside that. So that's how even the eternal youth can also be gained by this particular method. So I already explained the Parinama Gochara, materialistic differences. For example, a material will be identified based on the mass and volume. It varies based on the mass and volume. Every root element has its own mass and volume. Vaidhika Bhauta Shastra is the one which uses the mass and volume to identify the mass and volume. So it uses these concepts to identify the root element in the root elements, which are atomic in nature. So it proposes 84 formulas for this. Then Pravartana Gochara, as I told, like based on the two properties, like it may be Pravartana of the atom when it hits and when Pravartana of the Anu when it interacts or it hits the electron. It will either have a friction or there is a hitting effect. So maybe the terminologies are different because I have tried to translate from the Kannada to the English. There may be some difference of words which you may observe here, but the concept is a little bit different. So when establishing the connectivity, there is a Gharshana, the similarity, or the dissimilar, which can be Tadana. So these are the two concepts for the connectivity. So two properties will be decided based on the element, what kind of element it is. In the modern way, we can identify it as hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen like this. But in the ancient way, there are different nomenclature available. So first formula explains the materialistic way, and the second formula explains the life, how the life is there and how it interacts in the nature. And it explains the 7 dhatus also, which are responsible for making the kaya, plasma, that's rasa, rakta, mamsa, meda, asti, majja, and shukra. So there will be an interdependency among them. So that's it goes deeper to explain that. And the Parinama Gochara Bhaga, it will explain the bio kingdom also, where the Bharadwaja's Jiva Shastra is available. So how the tiger get its teeth? What is the importance of monkey's tail and cow's tail? So all different animal have their own properties of their tails, and their tail has been given because of different reasons. When you see the elephant, for elephant you see like why the tail is there, because it can't use the tail to put it to its body, but there is a particular reason for that. So what are those reasons? Why the nose is provided to the human like this? Why this structure is there? So all these things are explained in Bharadwaja's Jiva Shastra. 187 root elements, among which 164 visible and 23 invisible, which I told you before. Out of those 23 invisible, 7, which are Saptadhatus, they form the body. So that goes towards the Vaidhika Deha Shastra. For example, the Asti is the invisible dhatu, but the bone is visible. So that's why you cannot create a person like this just by in the laboratory. You can't create, because that Asti dhatu is invisible. If you are able to, by Tantra Shastra or some other way, you're able to make it visible, you may be able to prepare the person, human being like this. So then you will become the Brahma, equivalent to Brahma maybe. So the driving force, which is the Chaitanya, also cannot create the root element. It's not easy for that, because it is created only by the interaction with the nature. So if it is destroyed, the root element, consider the silicon. We are suppressing the silicon to a very high level. Consider one day the element silicon itself stops working, because it works because of its electronic configuration. So due to high compression, so if the nature, there is a wave which is provided to that particular element silicon. If it stops working, then it is considered, it may be a kind of calamity. All the electronic devices stops working if silicon doesn't work or silicon death happens. So that means the Chaitana Vyavahara in the dhatu has to be identified. But we are going in another way to do only the Parinama Gochara way to see the interaction between the different dhatus. So, but we have to identify which particular wave or the Taranga, Jiva Chaitana Taranga, is responsible to make the silicon a silicon, an element of its own property. Anything, maybe hydrogen, oxygen, why they are different, why they are unique, what is the property behind that? So Vaidhika Bauta Shastra has went to the deeper aspects of this, and it understood properly about how the Chaitana Vyavahara is there. The rule of dhatus, if it become different in the Pravartana, so it may create something like Sayami, which is these twins, different kind of twins. So it's not hereditary, it's not permanent. It can be avoided by Avalobhana Vidhi. So the Vaidhika Bauta Shastra explains the importance of Garbha Purva Samskaras, like starting from the Garbhadana, Pumsavana, Avalobhana, Vishnu Bali, and Simanto in Nayana. So all the scientific aspects involved in those samskaras it explains to get a proper progeny. So there are formulas provided for this. So even the Darwin's theory is a little bit influenced from this formula, but he went in a different approach and said that he took a different approach, and which is not acceptable from the Vedic physics perspective. And the third part, basic core formula, is a Mishra Dhatu or Mishra Chaitana. So the two different objects or the elements, how the interaction between them It's the first formula is it will be projected with some other supporter. The second formula is it will constantly have reformation, transformation, and drifting. And the third formula in this Mishra Chetana Vibhaga is the complex combinations. There will be mutual cooperation between them. Then only the complex combination will work. And it will be available in terms of smooth, blunt, lighter, attractive, and repulsive activities. So that's how the Mishra Chetana Vibhaga is available. Mishrana is, for example, you do the brass, create brass, which is an alloy of copper and zinc. If there is an anyonyata, the sneha, so then only the friendliness happen. So it goes to the atomic level to explain that. Karshana and Vikarshana. It may be attracting division or the repelling division. And Gharshana, which is the intermediate action between the Karshana and the Vikarshana is the Gharshana. So, for example, we prepare the bushes, the cast iron bushes, which is a mixture of the carbon and the brass. The formula 4 is about the Jada Sutra, rigid bodies, the dhatus which cannot participate independently, around 37 out of 164. They come into action by the other support. That's the second formula. For example, the flora and fauna, non-chlorophyll growth like mushroom, rock fluid, that is Shilarasa, all those things. The third one is, third formula here is works with the dual behaviors like bio and the driving forces. And they are mutually supportive for the independent production of the driving force. So that's the Jada Sutra. So again, I don't want to go deeper into the Jada Sutra. So this also I have explained a little. Okay. So the conclusion here of the chapter 1 of the Bauta Shastra is that Durgochara, you have 364 plus 1 and plus 1, again one more added by Galava Rishi. He did an Samshodhana and added one more. Totally Durgochara is of 366 types and Parinama Gochara is of 84 sutras, which I told before. Pravartana Gochara is 432, which is a Vishnu Sankhya. We call it as like in the Yuga Parivartana Niyama, Yuga Parivartana Sutras, mathematics, use this 432 because that's Pravartana Gochara, 432 divisions in the Pravartana Gochara, among which 432 minus 400, you have 32 types. 4 in the first one, in the 4 into 100 nourishments, which give you 400. For example, this unripened to ripen, milk to ghee, child to old. So like that, these are the nourishments. And 32 minus 30 is 2, which is food and knowledge, anna and jnana, which is called as. And the 3 among them, which is sattva rajatama, 10-fold them, which is 30. So 30 plus 2 plus 4 into 100. So that makes the 432. It's all related in the Pravartana Gochara division. And the Guna Gochara Ashtottara Shatanama is 108. And the Vidhiniyama or the Kalas, you have 64, Kala Vidyas, there are 64. So this particular framework of these 366, 84, 432, and 180 plus 64, you get 1054. So this is the core proposal of, or the basic idea of Bauta Shastra, which is expanded in enormously in the upcoming chapters. So second chapter starts with Guna Gochara Vishleshana, then the Kabauta Shastra, starting from the explaining the all the planets, and it explains the Brahmanda, how the interaction of the solar system is there. In its own framework, it explains. So that is picked up by the astrology and it's continued further. So then comes the, for example, in the Simha Rashi Vishleshana. So it explains the Deha Shastra. So Prana Sinchana Shakti is the Simha Rashi. So it explains the concept of Prana Sinchana, how Prana Sinchana happens in the whole world. So Rasa, Dhatu, Kanija, Loha, Deva, Jiva, Bharga, Mitra, and Varuna. So these are the Ashta Utpattis I told before, like 8 Ashta Prakriti, 8 divisions of nature. So it starts with the Rasa, then it goes to Dhatu, then Kanija, Ka Niyamita Janitri iti Kanija. So minerals, all the minerals, how they interact among this Rasa, Dhatu, and Kanija. Kanija with the Loha, the metals, Loha and the Jiva, how the Jiva interacts with these Rasa, Dhatu, Kanija. Loha, Jiva, Deva, how the Deva Chaitanya or the Devatas interact with this. Deva is the one which has the power to give. So that is Deva. So Deva, Jiva, Deva, Bharga, and Mitra and Varuna. So these are the Ashta Utpattis which interact in the nature. The first 6 years we try to understand these Ashta Utpattis, and at the end of all these Ashta Utpattis, the center is Jiva and Prana. How Jiva and Prana interact with the 7 dhatu of human body. Sage Agastya has told that you try to digest the Deha Shaastra. You try to understand the Deha Shaastra because the whole Brahmanda is there in your Deha itself, in your body itself. So it explains the 64 lakh Nara Vyuhas. What is Nara and Nadi, difference between them, Jiva Koshas, that's a cell, biology, all those things are explained in detail in this particular Bauta Shastra. And Sage Agastya's, with the Sage Agastya's words, our classes were, it was stopped because we have to understand the Deha Shastra in depth. Then we have to come back again to understand the Vedic Bauta Shastra more. That's why he started again the Ayurveda. For 5 years, he thought, till now he's teaching the Ayurveda. We are learning from him. 5 years, it started with the Deha Shastra, and then what is the natural prakriti of human body, nature of human body, then how the Vikriti happens in the human body, how to make it proper, how to treat it by the Mani Mantra and Aushadha techniques. Maybe in the upcoming lectures, I will just throw some light on the Mani Mantra Aushadha also. So that's how the Ayurveda lessons are going on. It's a division which went out from the Bauta Shastra. So with the basis of Bauta Shastra, you can understand all the Upashastras. So with this, I will try to end my lecture. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhavet. Hari Om. Okay, sir, over to you. Hemanth Kumar G.
I would like to thank Sri Hemanth Ji for his talk, which is insightful and wonderful. He took us along with him in the journey of understanding Vaidhika Bauta Shastra and its importance. He briefed us in detail about the 5 divisions of Vedic physics that are Agochara, Driggochara, Parinama Gochara, Pravartana Gochara, and Guna Gochara. We look forward to having many more talks in the coming days. I also thank all the audience who have joined us live on the Rishivatika YouTube channel and request everyone to subscribe. To subscribe to the channel for latest updates of all the future talks as part of this Vedavyasa Memorial Online Lecture Series. Tomorrow, on 2nd August, Sri STP Srinivas will talk on Sadachara Dinacharya. Now, I'll take your leave and we'll meet tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. again. Namaste. To subscribe to the channel for latest updates of all the future talks as part of this Vedavyasa Memorial Online Lecture Series. Tomorrow, on 2nd August, Sri STP Srinivas will talk on Sadachara Dinacharya. Now, I'll take your leave and we'll meet tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. again. Namaste.